Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to best improve your MCAT score. A little bit about me. I took my MCAT for the first time back in 2019 and I got a score of 500, which is the average on the dot score that you can possibly get. I retook it 2 years later after taking a gap year and figuring out a study technique that worked for me. And after all the amount of research that I've done through Reddit, YouTube, and all that, I figured out the best formula that allowed me to improve my score by 12 points in a span of 6 months. So today I'm going to be sharing you my 6 months plan as to how I was able to achieve this 12-point jump. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first 2 months is basically going to be very heavy on content review because you need to refresh all the content that you've basically learned in the past 4 years of undergraduate years. The best way to do that is Kaplan MCAT books, which you can purchase new on Amazon for around $170, or you can do what I did and buy a used version from friends or on Facebook or anywhere else, because the content is going to be the same, basically word for word in each chapter, whether it's from last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or the most current version. So I would suggest saving yourself the $100 and just buying a used one from someone else. There is also a free exam that comes with those Kaplan books, which you can also find the password to get into it through Reddit by looking up the third word of the second paragraph on page 73 or something, and Reddit will of course have it handy for you. So basically set up a schedule, go through the content on the first 2 months. The next 2 months, for me, it was January and February. It's going to be heavy on practice questions. You're going to want to get in as many practice questions as you can. And the best resource that is out there that even medical students use is called UWorld. And it's referred to as UEarth on Reddit. You can get the 2,000 questions access of like 90 days for around $250 on UWorld. And when I'm telling you it's worth it, it is worth it. I believe that is the main difference that allowed me to have that 12-point jump on my MCAT score, simply because I got those 2,000 practice questions in before I even started studying with the AMCAS material. So set up a schedule, make sure you finish those 2,000 questions throughout the third and fourth month of your MCAT prep. And I forgot to mention, but from day one of your content review, you should start doing CARS practice questions. If you're anything like me, where English wasn't your first language and these weird passages and figuring out the author tone and style doesn't come easy for you, then you're going to have to work on it from day one. But stay towards the end and I'll share with you the most significant tip that I learned from YouTuber that I will also share that made biggest difference in terms of my success on CARS. So back to the first 4 months, first 2 months, content review, third and fourth month, as many practice questions as you can. Don't look at the score that you're getting. UWorld will show you the percentage of correct. Really, you don't want to pull yourself down by thinking that you're not getting all these questions correct, but you're doing them so that you can learn from your mistakes. So be glad that you're making those mistakes and learning from them, rather than weighing yourself down and dwelling on this fact that you're doing horribly. Of course, you're going to be doing horribly because this is your first time around taking these practice questions, right? This brings us to our very last 2 months, 2 months leading up to your MCAT exam. And this is where you're going to want to 100%, if you purchase anything, it would have to be this, and it's the AMCAS material. So AMCAS is the actual company that creates the actual MCAT exam. So their style of questions, the type of questions, type of content they will test you on is going to be the most accurate version. So save those for last and start practicing through the bundle in the last 2 months. What you're going to want to do during these 2 months is also get some extra full-length practice exams, because you're going to have to build your stamina to be able to sit there for 7.5 hours and be able to have that stamina in order to pull you through and still be focusing on the very last section. You get one free exam with Next Step Prep, which I think is now called Blueprint. And besides that, you can buy more practice exams from them. I bought 4 extra practice exams for $100, which I think is totally worth it. Space them out. I did 2 practice exams per week. I would do one Monday and then one Thursday, and then have those 3 days to review. But that's going to be the very last month where you're going to be doing 2 practice exams per week. So you're going to end up taking around 8 to 10 practice exams full length. But the month before you start your practice exams, you're going to have to go through more practice questions, which is what the AMCAS bundle is for. And you're going to have to stick to a schedule where you're routinely studying for around 6 hours a day. You're going to want to become a doctor one day, so you're going to have to make those sacrifices eventually. So you're going to have to start now if you really want to get that MCAT score that will get you into medical school. So dedicate 6 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours, what I did for 5 days a week, and I would take the weekends off. But in general, you want to hit around 500, 600 study hours in order to achieve a competitive score. So that's kind of the layout of how you're going to be practicing. Now, I'm gonna share with you guys subtle tactics and mentality shifts that you should have in order to better prepare you for the MCAT. First one is setting routines. Like I said, you're gonna want to make sure that you're able to focus for 90 minutes at a time, because MCAT has 4 sections, each one being 90 minutes with a 10-minute break in between. So that's how you're gonna want to practice in order to condition yourself to be able to focus for those 90 minutes. As you start learning psychological concepts through studying for MCAT, you're going to realize how much of it applies to you, because you are human and psychology is the science of our minds, right? So take advantage of this and apply it to yourself, like classical conditioning. If you condition yourself to sit down in one spot and always start grinding and studying when you sit down on that spot, for me, it was the one table on my one local library. As soon as I sat down and opened up that computer, it was grind time, no questions about it. Take advantage of classical conditioning and condition yourself to basically focus for 90 minutes at a time, and then go take a break for 10 minutes. Make sure you stand up, stretch around, move, because the blood flow will help bring oxygen to your brain and help you focus better for the next section. Speaking of bringing oxygen to your brain, something that really makes a difference, and it's a very underrated difference because not a lot of people talk about it, and it's through meditation and cardio exercises. So I say meditation because meditation is a practice of focus and intentional breathing. So when you're inhaling a lot of oxygen, and it brings that fresh new oxygen to your brain, which it loves. There's a reason why Wim Hof is a popular meditation guru, because he scientifically proved this phenomenon of how blood flow increases when you meditate and do these certain exercises. So what I did is 10 minutes a day for the 3 months leading up to MCAT, and when I tell you, you notice a difference, I'm telling you, you will notice a difference if you're consistent with it. So definitely meditate. If you can get into that, make yourself do it. I promise you, after you get over that first week or two of a hump of just sitting there bored out of your mind, thinking about your breath, you'll start to see why it's a thing, because there really is benefits and this cool phenomenon that happens when you meditate. Secondly, cardio during exercise. So I do lift a lot of weights. However, leading up to my exam, I started doing a lot more cardio. I would do 30 minutes cardio to begin with, and then 30 minutes of weights. And I did lose a little bit of weight, but really that's not a big sacrifice for me in terms of losing weight in order to have a better mindset and better mental capabilities and focus and energy. There's research to back it up all around. So just, we all know cardio is healthy for you anyways, and there's no better time to do it than when you need that cardio the most for your brain. So definitely do cardio. Another thing would be, don't get sucked into the Reddit rabbit hole like I did and every other neurotic pre-medical student does. It's okay to get into Reddit for a bit in the beginning to kind of set up your study tactics and research some ways to study on YouTube, as you're doing right now. However, at some point it becomes more of a detriment than it is a benefit to you once you start going to that rabbit hole and finding yourself thinking, oh, I will never achieve these scores that these Reddit accounts are saying they achieved because they did this. And then there's a bunch of opposing thoughts and tactics, and it really doesn't help after a certain point. So figure out your study style and stick to it from then on, and don't go on Reddit. But when you should go on Reddit is when you are doing your MCAS practice bundle. MCAS is very vague in terms of how they explain their answers, and that is where Reddit is going to be your best friend. People have posted every single question that you will see on that MCAS practice bundle, and they have answered it in a nice, concise way that, in layman's terms, basically where you would understand it. At least for me, it definitely helped out a lot, and I know it helped out a bunch of other people, because there's certain things that just will not make sense to you from MCAS explanation, and Reddit will make it make sense. Other than that, Khan Academy is one of the big ones. It helps you conceptualize those difficult topics, especially physics and physiology topics. They have a way of explaining things for students, also in layman's terms, which we love, right? Lastly, I said in terms of cars, my simple trick that actually made me jump 5 points in my car section was watching a video by Ahmad Shaheen, and I'll drop the link down below for you guys to check that video out. Big thanks to him, but one of the things that he said that kind of made me shift my mindset a little bit, that caused me to have this improvement, is reading the passages, these boring, dull passages, in a very enthusiastic way. So if you change your voice inside your head, that little mnemonic that goes on in your head, and you make it an enthusiastic voice where you're happy to read and interested to read in what you're reading, then all of a sudden your brain just picks up on the subtle things that you're reading about, and it'll pick up on the author's tone. It'll pick up more of the details. You'll understand the passage in general as a whole much better because you seem more interested into it, even though you're forcing yourself to. You'll see it'll become kind of habitual when you start reading passages, and you'll start reading them in the most happy and enthusiastic way possible. But like I said, it's a classical conditioning phenomenon. You're conditioning yourself to do it, and then you'll notice you're going to be taking your real MCAT exam in Pearson's MCAT lab, and you're going to be reading in a happy voice inside your head, but it's going to be helping you out. So that's going to be one of the main tricks. And he also did mention a bunch of other helpful tricks and tips on how to tackle car section, which I found really, really helpful. So check out that video down below. And lastly, I want to mention two things that I used during my MCAT prep, and really is something that I've stumbled across during my MCAT prep that I'm going to actually continue on until I'm med school in the future, is Toggle Track, which will help keep track of what you're studying, how you're spending your time in terms of preparing for MCAT or classes or anything else. It's basically a timer, and you type in what you're timing, and I'll keep track of that, and you can see if you've actually put in and dedicated those 500 hours, 600 hours that you needed to achieve your desired MCAT score. So for me, I spent around 800 hours on MCAT prep, and I think it very well paid off because I scored a 512 6 months later, and I just was astonished and could not believe it. Another website or app that you should definitely check out and utilize is Tomato Timer. I'm sure you've stumbled across it at one point or another. And it basically times it for 90 minutes. Like I said, you're going to want to condition yourself in order to be able to focus for 90 minutes and then take a break for 10, and that's the best way to do it. And you start the timer, and you know it's grind time, and you put away your phone, you turn off all your notifications, and there's nothing in between you and your work besides your focus and attention. So it's the best way to really study. I know I used to be a very bad studier because I would have my phone out, I would talk to my friends and all that, but if you make yourself focus for 90 minutes at a time and then take 10 minutes off, you're going to condition yourself, I promise you, to be able to focus for those 90 minutes when it's real time to take the MCAT. That's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, subscribe. I will be posting more helpful videos from my pre-medical journey in hopes of helping others that are traveling the same journey as me. So stay tuned for more. Thank you.